Hi, Monica.
Great to see you.
Great to see you. Great to see you. And thanks for giving me a little bit of time today. It's nice to chat to you.
Great way to start a Monday.
It is, isn't it? It is, it is. So you, just for everyone who's listening, you are from Wordstorm PR. I have photographed a few of your clients over the years and luckily you as well, which was great once when you came down to Melbourne. So we know each other quite well. I'm just going to read out a little bit here from your website so people know who Wordstorm PR is. So it's a boutique-sized agency, and you obviously work as PR agents to increase the credibility, trust, brand perception, and bottom line of entrepreneurial-driven and not-for-profit organisations. You offer services to complement media relations strategy, including social media, media training, influencer engagement, blogger outreach, award submissions, and speaking opportunities. I don't think I even knew you did all of those things. It's a huge complement of stuff. So yeah, I mean, Wordstorm has been going for 19 years, am I right? It's a really long time. Like, you've got massive experience in the industry. Can you just tell people a little bit more about yourself and that journey to where you are today with Wordstorm?
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, so I started my career really working in TV, and after working in London for a few years, I landed a job at Channel 9's A Current Affair, working as a producer. And while I was there, it was my role to sort of find stories and find the people within the stories that we could put to air. So we had, my phone was ringing all day long with all kinds of people wanting their story on air, whether they were a business owner, a marketing manager, or some very weird and dodgy neighbour. But what I found was that very seldom did they understand how to pitch to me in order to get cut through. So more often than not, they lost the opportunity because they couldn't articulate what their angle was. They couldn't tell me why our audience would want to know about this stuff, because that's all journalists want to know, like what's in it for the audience, what's the value, how is the audience going to be engaged by this story. So a couple of years in, and after beating my head against a brick wall quite a few times after dealing with these people on the phone, I decided that I could do it better. So I saw an opportunity to create a PR agency that understands journalists, what their days are like, and how you need to communicate with them in order to get cut through. And Wordstorm PR was born.
Beautiful.
So yeah, it's been a 19-year journey so far. It's been amazing. As you said, we've found our sweet spot. So we really love working with entrepreneurial-driven businesses and not-for-profits. And what we say is our clients are living a dream, and sometimes a nightmare, unfortunately, but it goes hand in hand with passion. Solving a problem and improving the life of their client, customer, or the world in some way, shape, or form. So, and then, yeah, I'm also a speaker. So I speak at conferences and give workshops and keynotes around the whole thing about demystifying media and showing people how to become that go-to media spokesperson for their industry.
Yeah, fantastic. And even though you're based in Sydney, you work with clients nationally, don't you? Because I've obviously photographed some of your Melbourne clients.
Yeah. So we work with clients all over Australia and international brands who are selling within Australia. So, I mean, the world, it's a close world now with, technology and all of that. And yeah, we deal with all sort of Australian media.
Yeah, okay. So digging into what you do a little bit more, it's about cutting through. How do you try and do that with your clients? Like, what's the secret sauce of PR to cut through? And that's probably a big question.
That's all right. Well, I guess what our clients are buying is trust. They're buying trust from their potential customers or clients or stakeholders if it's a not-for-profit. So, and when you are featured consistently in the media, and when I'm talking media, I'm talking TV, radio, online news sites, newspapers, magazines, podcasts as well, you know, the credibility of your brand just skyrockets. It's what I call the fame factor. It's something that happens psychologically. We revere those that we consistently see in the media. So they're buying trust. And, you know, when you go to look for a service, you know, it's a competitive world out there. There's a million photographers, there's a million PR people, a million gym instructors, you know, there's a million of everyone, more than millions. So how do you get cut through from your competitors? And one really good way to do that is you become the go-to media spokesperson for your industry, so that when people are Googling, you know, photographers or maybe even your name, instead of just your website coming up, all your media articles that you've been featured in comes up, as opposed to your competitor who hasn't been in any sort of media, and people think, oh, wow, this is the person the media is constantly talking to. They must be the best in their field. And so it's just another way to leverage and get that cut through from a very competitive environment that we're playing in nowadays.
Yeah. I have to say, as a small business owner, I don't hear a lot of small business people, the ones I photograph and network in the same circles. I know there are some that work with PR agencies, but not many seem to do that. Is that a small business mentality? Like that we don't, I suppose the preconceived notion is that only the larger companies maybe work with PR. I mean, do you come up against that a lot? And is that the incorrect way to think about PR? I probably don't even think about PR that much because I probably think I'm a small business person. I wouldn't get on media.
and that it's a big misconception. It's not, PR isn't just for big businesses or celebrities. In fact, journalists prefer to hear from someone who's not a household name a lot of the time. So it's a bit like that. It is a mindset thing, and it's like having an imposter syndrome situation. Oh, I don't know enough. What I've got to say isn't important enough. I'm just a small business. You know, that word small people can make it feel to themselves like it's actually not as good as a large business, but it's absolutely not true. So journalists are looking for content that will add value to and engage their audience. You as a small business have that content. You have the expertise and the angles and everything, just as much, if not better, than a large corporation who has to have the legal department go through all their messaging and kill anything that's newsworthy in that messaging. So actually small businesses have more of an advantage when it comes to media because they can be dynamic, they can be nimble, and as I said, whenever we've worked with a large corporate, it's been challenging because we have to have 10 meetings to ruin the messaging. And that's why I stopped working with corporates. It just wasn't fulfilling, you know, any kind of job satisfaction. Whereas working with passionate and purpose-driven entrepreneurs, passionate not-for-profits, is a lot more. There's a lot more job satisfaction in that.
Yeah, and you get to see those results, I can imagine, much quicker and easier. Yeah. Really. Obviously, I keep coming back to the words cut through because I think I read those words in your content a lot, and that seems to come up a lot with PR. And when I talk to my clients about personal branding images, it's all about cut through as well. It's about standing out amongst your competitors. You know, when they're scrolling, you want them to stop and notice you. And one way I know you've been doing that, or one way you've done that, is by improving your profile on LinkedIn. You're doing these weekly videos on a Monday. You call it, #Magnify Monday Moment. Yes, it's a mouthful. But, you know, every time I jump on LinkedIn, you know, there's Monica with her 2 or 3 minute spiel educating us on some aspect of PR, which I love, and that's definitely kept you front and centre of my feed, and they're always interesting and short and sweet. I wanted to talk about a couple of those because there's a couple that I have loved in particular. One is one you did a few weeks ago on the 3 pillars, what you call the 3 pillars of marketing. I wanted you to just talk a little bit about what those 3 pillars are and why you believe they're so essential in business, because I think they were really important.
Okay, great. Yes, the 3 pillars of marketing today, I believe, and I think a lot of other people will agree with me, but feel free to let me know if you don't. Content, trust, and personal branding. And those 3 things are totally interrelated. So I'll start off with content. Content is king in today's marketing world. So what works in marketing changes decade to decade and generation to generation. But in today, 2019, and probably for the next few years at least, content is king, because we're all about learning. You know, we're in this phase of humanity where we want to learn. We're listening to TED Talks, we're watching documentaries, there's so much information out there available to us, and we are just lapping it up more than ever before. And when it comes to content, it's about giving away your content and your expertise. So it's not being afraid to actually share how you do things and teach other people how to do it. So like with my Magnify Monday Moment videos, they're all about sharing a PR tip that I've, learned over my 20 years in media, and sharing it with the people out there who might be able to gain from it. Yeah. Now, I'm not worried about losing business with that, because it's just, some people might take my tips and go and run with it, and that's awesome. Other people might listen and think, I really need help with that. But it doesn't matter. By sharing your content, you're developing yourself as the expert in the industry, and being generous as well with your information. So content is number 1. Number 2 is trust. So we need to trust a business or a brand, or a personal brand, if we're going to hire them. Like a lot of times when you go and think, okay, I want to buy a certain service or even product, probably the first thing you do is go online and you Google, what's everyone else saying? We go by testimonials, we go by reviews, Google reviews, and then so they're kind of the direct things that help enhance our trust. And the more indirect things are mediums where you have shared your content. So things like in the media. So, have you been in the media, whether it's TV or in a newspaper or an online news site, sharing something about your industry? Yeah. And then, or do you do that regularly on LinkedIn, or do you have a podcast or whatever? But all of these elements help us have more trust in your brand. And the trust comes from the content that you put out. So it's directly in line with the content. And then last but not least, you've got your content and that's going to get you trust, but how you put it out there comes down to your personal brand. So you really need to work out what's your personal brand, meaning how do you want people to perceive you? What kind of attributes do you want to give off? If you had sort of 20 people watching your video, and at the end of that video you want them to say the following about you, that your key values are 1 to 5, and you want them to match what your values are pretty much. So personal branding comes down to your look and your appearance, and having something memorable about your appearance, hence the hair.
I need pink hair or something.
But it's not, it can be the glasses you wear. It can be, it's really it's something that's already you that you just enhance. But that's just the physical side. Then it comes down to your personality, your approach, and what you're like, and how people would describe you, and the way, and your professional personality, because our professional personalities differ from our personal ones. Like my 11-year-old daughter the other day said to me, "Mum, you just so different. Like the working you is so different to the lazy you, is so different to the mum you is so different." Like she worked out for herself that I just wear all these different hats, and the personal branding for my professional me is totally different to when I'm at a school event, and totally different again to when I'm being a complete lazy sloth. Thank God, because you wouldn't want to see me in that hat. But so it's something that we bring to work, just like we bring to work professionalism, and we bring, even if we don't feel like it, we get to work and we do what we need to do. It's the same with your personal brand. It's something you switch on from a professional point of view.
Absolutely.
And then all of that relates, because that personal branding will come out through your content and will mean that people trust you. And if you get all three things aligned, you've got perfect marketing material.
Absolutely. That's why I love those three pillars so much. And one thing I always push with my clients is consistency. Like, once you nail that, you just got to show up consistently all the time, because if you surprise people, or if you're there for a little bit and then you disappear for a while, it just doesn't work, does it? You have to, you know, which is why your Magnify Mondays are great, because you are consistently showing up every week, and people trust you now. They know that you're going to be there and you're giving good tips. So it's just so important.
The problem is, if I take the odd Monday off, which doesn't happen very often, I feel really good. But and I wonder if anyone will notice. But yeah, I must say the consistency has been really, really powerful. And it's really important to be consistent. And that's what I say with media too. I mean, it's great to have a one-off sort of article or TV thing that you can include in your marketing material, but it's so much more powerful when you are the consistent media spokesperson for your industry.
And I suppose that consistency, it's what my clients or people I talk to in business struggle with the most, because, you know, we're so time pressured, but we really have to work that out, don't we, and prioritize it, because if you're not getting that right, you really are losing that opportunity. But it is that big struggle of a small business, if we're going to call it that, you know, we're focusing on the grunt work, and we've really got to get those systems in place and do that consistent work.
Well, I think any small business, you know, you have to work on the business as well as it. You're not going to be a business for long, small or big.
Absolutely.
And
set your boundaries, set your time up, set your boundaries, and get that done.
And just do what you feel you can. Don't bite off too much. You know, start something, do it properly, and then. So, for instance, with me, okay, I've done the videos for 1.5 years now. They're not going anywhere. I'll keep doing it. But now I'm going to start a podcast just to add to it, where we're going to be interviewing journalists to get sort of like the insider. You know, instead of me telling everyone what journalists are looking for, we're going to interview different journalists to talk about, you know, what they're looking for and how they're looking for it and that kind of thing.
Yeah, fantastic. Actually, that leads into the second Monday moment that I really enjoyed, which was the one about, you talk about a media mindset and how people should be developing a media mindset. Can you explain that to me and what that is?
Yes. Okay, so a media mindset is about not looking at the media passively. So not just being the consumer where you flick onto this and you open up your news site, whatever. It's about really looking at the media from a proactive point of view, and from the point of view is how can you be in that media. So it's about making the most of opportunities as well. So when there's a story breaking on a topic that's something that you can comment on, it's about then, instead of just listening to all the talk going on in the media and thinking, oh, she said the right thing, I don't agree with what she said, blah, blah, blah. It's actually about you having the courage and the systems to go forward to the media and say, I'm an expert in this area. This is the topic that's trending. I've got something to say. So it's really about, as I said, just starting to notice the media from a more conscious point of view. Also listening to interviews. You know, do you think that person gave a good interview, a bad interview? Why? What could they have done better? Because then when it comes time for you to give an interview, you're armed with, at least from a audience point of view, what you feel works and doesn't work. So a media mindset can be developed. It starts off by knowing a few things, obviously, about media. Well, at least a little bit about how it all works and how, you know, what the essence of the media is and how different brands are using media. But once you've got a bit of that groundwork, it's really about being conscious of the media you're looking at and always thinking of it in terms of how can I magnify my message in the media.
And like everything, I mean, confidence would come with experience, wouldn't it? The more you do that and the more you practice, you're going to feel more comfortable stepping up and trying to be. Yeah, absolutely. Now that brings me to images, which we have to talk about photography, at least a little bit.
It's very important, actually. So, yeah, definitely do.
I suppose, yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear your take on it, because I do, I have a client even just recently actually who came to me specifically for a certain type of image that she was told she needed to create from a PR perspective. Is there a certain type of image that differs to, I mean, or does it depend on the pitch? Is there something particular that media agencies look for, or is it just to catch their attention?
Okay, like images are so important, and so it's really important, one, to make sure you have professional photography. Don't try and do it yourself. It's not going to work.
Yes.
I can't tell you how often clients have flicked me. Oh yes, I'll get my wife to take a photo of me on their iPhone on the weekend, and there's a blurry head and there's halos and there's God knows what. Like, seriously, professional and
then the photographer gets an email saying, "Can you do a shoot tomorrow at 10 a.m.?"
So when we start with a client, we make sure they've got good images as soon as possible at the commencement of a campaign. So what we're looking for is firstly kind of just a standard normal kind of head shot, head, waist and full body shot, whatever, like just a range of different shots of that person.
Yep.
And obviously keeping in mind what's the personal brand of that person. So how does that person want to be perceived by the world? So how do you want your hair that day? How do you want to dress? How do you want to be perceived?
Yeah.
But moving on from that, we try and get clients to be a little bit more creative. So depending on what their business is. But if you're a lawyer, you don't have to just be ahead and, a boring stock stand thing. It can be, a photo of you. I should have thought of this. I should have used a different example. But, or in somewhere in your office, somewhere that speaks of you, some behind your desk maybe looking, I don't know, just something. Think about your workplace. So I'm not going to use the lawyer example. Let's say you own like a food emporium. Get amongst the vegetables, hold some vegetables.
Well, I did the shoot for you for the flower subscription business, and I went to their factory and we had them surrounded by all their flowers and throwing confetti with all their staff, or throwing petals. Sorry, not confetti, petals. We thought up some really fun shots that we thought would be a bit more eye-catching than just having them stand with one bunch of flowers, for example.
Yeah, exactly. So be fun, be creative. So make sure you get your stock standard, head to waist, etc. shots as well. But on top of that, be a bit creative, because the media is a visual medium. So whether you're talking TV, any medium, even radio has their websites. Don't forget, they've got their websites, which are very powerful. We've had plenty of clients featured on the website of a radio station like Kiss FM, and they've sold gazillion lots of product from that. Yeah. So every media you target nowadays is visual, and so it's important. Like a journo might see an image and think, I love that image so much, I don't even care what the story is, I'm going to write about it, or find a story to go. I mean, so it's don't even bother going to the media until you've got professional images.
Yes.
Like that comes first and foremost, because what will inevitably happen is journos, the first thing they'll say is, can you send me an image? And then you're going to have to scour through, the party you had, 3 weeks ago, and the champagne, cut the champagne out of your hand. And it's just not going to be a good look. So professional images are really important when it comes to media or any other kind of marketing activity.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll probably wrap it up there, Monica. Any last minute tips on PR, on what people can start doing now on their own?
Yeah, look, I would think about, who's your target audience, and what media do either they watch, read and listen to or find credible. So your audience might not watch Sunrise, for instance, because they're busy working, but if you said as seen on Sunrise, that might be credible.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there will be credibility in their eyes. So identify the media you want to be in and start looking at that media from a media mindset point of view. You know, read the articles, have a look at what sort of stories they run, and think about where you could start fitting into those stories or those media outlets. And then start jotting some names down. You know, on online news sites, the journos have their names right there and sometimes their email address. So in print magazines, that's usually all at the front as well. So start jotting down some names and areas of media that you would like to see yourself in. And then and subscribe to PR things. So watch my Magnify Monday Moment videos. You know, there's loads of PR agencies out there with blogs and all kinds of things. So just start educating yourself about the whole media thing. And obviously you can give me a call or give, you know, any agency out there that you feel good fit, you know, a call and sort of have a chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I'm going to tell people where they can find you. So your company Wordstorm is just wordstormpr.com.au, your great website. And if people want to find you and follow you on LinkedIn, you are Monica-Rosenfeld, which is Rosenfeld.
Yes.
And they should definitely do that. And Facebook?
Yeah. Facebook, so my professional one, which is not my lazy sloth and mummy one.
Don't follow the wrong account.
Is Monica Rosenfeld Magnify You. So it's got the Magnify You after my name.
Oh, great. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much for chatting today. They're great tips, and I'm going to definitely start listening to a little bit more media. I have to admit it's not an area that I have thought about in terms of PR much at all, but I used to work for a media monitoring company before I was a photographer. So I used to love listening to the radio, but I think with the birth of podcasts and all sorts of online learning now, you kind of start listening to all of that instead, and I listen to less radio and watch less TV, but you've got to really keep that in the mix, don't you? It's a great way to improve your credibility, like you said. Yeah. That'll be my goal, to get on some kind of media outlet in the next 6 to 12 months.
Oh, good. Well, that's a good goal.
Thanks. Have a great day, and I will see you online soon.
One more tip.
Absolutely.
Remember, Source Bottle is a really good newsletter to subscribe to. So it's SOURCE bottle, all one word, .com or .com.au, and we'll just have a look. And essentially it's a newsletter where journalists who are looking for certain topics, they will do a call out. So it's a really good way to start sort of reaching out to media. And the trick with Source Bottle, getting quick, because once they've got their first answer, once they've got the person they need, they no longer look. So get in as fast as you can and just be very articulate. Don't waffle. Just answer their question directly up front, and, you know, you'll have a good chance of getting some media. So sorry, that should have come in there.
That's great. I actually used to get that email years ago and for some reason stopped. That's a great tip, yeah. And you know what, if you don't have the balls to contact the media straight away, do what Monica's doing and just start doing little videos about yourself and what you do and your expertise, because that's just a great local, maybe non-scaring way to just start building your own credibility with your local people, and opportunities come out of that, don't they, as well? So, you know, do everything you can.
Yeah. I work with Lillian Bullock, who's the LinkedIn ninja.
Oh, yeah.
And she trained me in everything I need to know about LinkedIn, so she's awesome.
Great. Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds good.